So, since the last video, I've assembled the various components that had already had built. I've attached the stringers. This section of the build actually took me a lot longer than I thought, and it was mostly just due to the stringers and inexperience bending wood. I wish I could take the tarp off and show you, but yeah, it really isn't the best of weather today. Yeah, summer's over here. We can expect a lot of this sort of weather between now and spring, but I will get the occasional dry day, so I will continue to make progress. What follows is just some of the issues and interesting things that I ran into during the build. And yeah, at the end of this video, I'll be ready to start planking. Here's my bottom plank on the building jig. The plans ask for a 40 by 20 millimeter piece of timber to be attached to the bottom plank along the edge all the way around. So that's a little under 40 by 20, but you get the idea. To be attached all the way around, following the curve in the plank and bending a piece of timber 40 millimeters wide and thinner than that. We could probably steam it, but reading online, seems like a lot of people are laminating this rather than making it out of a single piece of timber. So here I've ripped a piece down to 20 by 20, and it seems more than flexible enough. I'm just bending this end here. I've got it clamped in the middle, and here. We're definitely going to be able to put the right curve on that. Put some glue on it, screw it down, that'll be fine, and then we'll come along and attach another one of the same dimensions to the outside once this one's clamped down. Since I last posted, I've got the bulkheads attached to the bottom panel. I'm going to deviate slightly from the build plans. The stem here, we cut notches that the stringers, so the stringers are pieces of timber that run down the length of the boat through these notches, 1, 2, 3, 4 stringers, and will attach to the stem. The build instructions say glue and laminate the stem together before this point, but I haven't actually done that yet because I'm going to need to cut notches. You can see that this is made of 3 pieces of plywood. I'm going to need to cut notches in the outer piece, so I'm not actually going to glue the stem in place until I've got the stem, until I've got the stringers all dry fitted. Other variations from the build instructions, I haven't actually glued the centerboard case in yet. I'm waiting on some fiberglass matting arriving to line the inside of this case, so I don't actually want to attach it just yet. Also, the case logs, you can see on this side, I've got a nice piece of hardwood there that will screw into the bottom panel. I want to put one of those on. I need to put one of those on this side as well. But I think it's going to be easier to work out just exactly, let me slot this back in place again, just exactly how high up to put it and exactly what shape the bottom of it should be. I think it'll be easier to work all that out once I've got this stringer in place, and maybe even just tack on a temporary planking sheet, you know, just to work out just exactly where it intersects with the case. What else is going on? Transom at the back here. This is angled back 15 degrees according to the plans. Cool. So next up, get some stringers in place. While waiting on glue to dry elsewhere in the boat, I'm just taking the opportunity to fit the hatches between the front buoyancy compartment and the rest of the boat. The plans dictate a 250mm radius hatch, so that's 250mm hole size opening before the hatch itself is mounted in place. But I was hunting everywhere on the internet and I'm bollocks if I can find one. This one I got on AliExpress. It's actually slightly smaller. The radius of the screw holes is 260mm on this one. So I've got just enough space to screw through. Just mounting this with wood screws. This is just dry fitted at the moment. I haven't even finished all the screw holes yet. But when I finally come to mount it, I'll have plenty of sealant in there. This gap will be full of sealant. It'll be fine. There's never going to be any real weight on this hatch. It really is just to keep the front buoyancy compartment sealed and allow me to get in there and use it for storage, but there'll be nothing heavy going in there. If this ever does prove to be a problem, I'll be able to cut the hatch out. I'll just make up a piece of timber the size of this gap, epoxy that in place, and then screw another one of these the same size in. It'll be a bit fiddly because once there's a deck over the top of this buoyancy compartment, I won't actually be able to get in at it from the back, but it'll be fine. So this is the actual hatch cover that goes in there. There's like a lip on the bottom. Goes in like that. There's another smaller one. I'll go in the back here. I have managed to get the right size for that one. It's 150mm. Bending the longitudinal stringers around the curve in the hull is kind of the trickiest part of the build so far. Just getting this curve here. I actually had this stringer snap twice actually, just where it goes around this bulkhead. So as the stringers go down, there's not quite as much curve on them, so the top pair were the trickiest. You know, you see a scarf joint there where I've had to cut a stringer and attach another piece on here. Once you actually get them into place at the top here, you've got not only the bend this way to deal with, but there's also a lot of twist. The way I dealt with the twist, I just kind of made up some very rough and ready jigs. These fitted on the top like that, and then I was actually able to just tie the two together and just tighten a piece of cord which applied pressure in the way on these to get the right amount of twist and just get the angle on these. And I did that for each pair down. As you go down the way, these actually sort of went on that way around. But yeah, the same principle. Obviously when they were on that way around, I needed to force the bottoms apart to again get these guys to twist that way, right? And then small screw in each of these, and just a clamp pulling the, you know, once I've got the angles right with these temporary brackets, just a clamp pulling these in together. In the vise there is a section of one of the stringers that cracked on me. Just when I apply a bit of pressure to the end, just keep an eye on just about here and you'll see the crack opening up. So obviously, in retrospect, it cracked because there's a great big dirty knot here, all the way through. This is inexpensive timber. Came from my building providers, advertised as white deal, whatever that is. But you know, if I'd taken the time to cut all the knots out in advance, it would have been good enough. It's got, you know, reasonably tight grain. The grain is in the, you know, like in the right axis. You don't want it, you can think of the lines of the grain forming sheets of timber, sheets of wood sort of going this way. You can think of them like pages in a book. You can bend a book sort of this way around, but you don't want to start twisting it too much that direction. In retrospect, I would have been much quicker if I'd spent a bit of time just chopping knots out of all this wood beforehand, scarfing the bits of timber together. Instead, I decided to start bending the stringers around the boat, and every time I got a crack, I'd repair it. But this meant, you know, like after every repair, I was having to wait for glue to dry. So this meant that, you know, like attaching a single pair of stringers could take multiple days while I was waiting on glue to dry. One of my stringers, I think I had like 3 snaps along its length. So yeah, I would have been, in retrospect, I'd have been much better just, well, either sourcing some better quality timber with less knots in it, but failing that, actually just spending the time up front, getting rid of the knots, scarfing some clear timber together. Anyway, you live and you learn. So that's about it for this video. I've actually started planking already. I've been recording my progress there, so hopefully fairly soon I'll have that done and I will be able to update you with the next section of the build. And hey, once the planking's on, it'll be time to turn the boat upside down and start looking at the other side of it, getting a finish on the bottom. Cool.